Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you. So, I played a little bit of Yubel Fiendsmith while I was in Diamond ranked with the intention of just getting a couple of replays for a video, or like, 3 or 4 if you. That was actually far from the case. I ended up ranking up on a 12-2 record. 12 wins, 2 losses from Diamond 3 up to Master Rank. So this first game here is actually going to be me demonstrating something I discussed in a recent video. Actually, it's a little over a week ago. Recent enough, but about how Yubel Fiendsmith is one of the Fiendsmith decks that can actually do lines off of only opening Fiendsmith tracks. We have our combo line that I'm going to demonstrate for you here. As you see, we opened tracked +4 non-engine, and this is the board that I built off of it. But more than that, I've got a total of 6 replays for you that really just highlight just how good this deck is. Now, I think I might already foresee what some of the comments might say, but Hex, in your, not most recent, but previous tier list, you put Yubel at tier 3, and now you're saying it's a good deck? I did upgrade it to tier 2 because I had an inclination that with the banning of Beatrice and the introduction of Necroquip, that would put Yubel Fiendsmith in this unique spot where it could actually play the Fiendsmith engine pretty much at the same power level as before the Beatrice ban, thanks to Aerial Eater, and of course also, again, the Necroquip. But I think even then I kind of slept on the power level of that a little bit because I found, and you're going to see not only in this game but some other ones coming up, that you can get into the Yubel combo line without even opening any Yubel monsters. In fact, you can do it without opening Yubel monsters and while getting hand trapped. Spoiler alert, the last replay I'll show you is us pulling off a full Yubel combo line, again, despite not opening the D-Lotus and also getting 2 imperms. But again, that'll be the last game. Like I said, this one here is me setting up a board. It is worth noting that if you are going for the tracked solo line, that you do get Fiend locked by the Muckraker fairly early on. That said, as I'm demonstrating here, you can still end on the Phantom, the Soul of Rage, and then the D-Lotus as well. And that amount of interruption, combined with our 2 back rows, is going to cause our opponent to concede here. Of course, I got some going second games for you here as well, because not only do these engines allow for more, board building on turn 1, but also more importantly, as I mentioned before, it allows for board building through disruptions, which makes going second a lot easier as well. I'll freely admit that Joel does do a fair bit of the heavy lifting here in this game, and at least one other that I remember, but just being a good hand trap in this meta. But the only hand trap you need in some situations like this one here. Yeah, like I said though, the Yubel deck, I think I did underrate it, even putting it like towards the bottom of tier 2. After playing this little bout with it, I definitely would want to move it up on the tier list now, looking back. I will say, and I'll show the deck list at the end, and you'll kind of maybe get an idea more of what I'm talking about here, but I will say something about this variant in particular is that it is a little bit more difficult to OTK in an open board state than previous Yubel builds. Previously, Yubel would use Access Code plus Chaos Angel as an easy way to get 8k damage, even if your opponent doesn't have anything on the field. Of course, a lot of the time you end up winning through battle damage in this deck is by reflecting it with a Nightmare Pain and your Yubel monsters. However, with the extra deck slots that this build demands, you don't necessarily have that kind of flexibility. In fact, I'll be totally honest with you, I don't even have room for Caesar in this extra deck. Again, deck list will be at the end of the video, or if you saw my recent community post, then I showed it there as well. But yeah, at the end of deck building, it came down to Appaloosa versus Caesar for me, but choosing between those two. And I ended up going with Appaloosa, but I'll say there were a lot of situations where I would have rather had the Caesar. Appaloosa, it might sound wild to people that I'm about to say this, but Appaloosa is actually pretty optional in Yubel now, in the grand scheme of things. Which again, I can see a lot of people being like, no, that card is broken and it needs to be banned, but I completely disagree. There were a lot of situations, like I said, where I would have preferred the Caesar. Mostly because the monster effect negate, you really don't need it. One, because you have Phantom, and two, you have so many other forms of disruption. Omni negates on Fiendsmith, Desiree, and Vardras, as well as the Unchained Soul of Rage going into SP Little Knight, not only eating the monster that Unchained Soul links with, but also, of course, getting to banish multiple cards off the SP that you go into. And then, yeah, the Seas are also providing multiple summon negates. The thing is that a lot of these kinds of effects can not only stop monster effects like Appaloosa can, but then spell and trap cards that have, like, the summon effects. Or, in Vardras and Desiree's case, they can just stop any kind of card. But, yeah, combined with the fact that your Appaloosa ends up being 2 material a lot of the time, it just, I don't know, it's really not as strong, this deck, as you might think. I would consider it optional. I think it's probably optimal, but I think it is overall optional. Alright, so for this game here, it's funny, I was kind of struggling to figure out how I was going to actually end the game in an open board state, but then my opponent revived the Blue Eyes, and I was like, oh, okay, well, if you're going to make it easy for me, then, then yeah, I know exactly how I'm winning this duel. Going into the Lacrima here. The Lacrima will drop the Blue Eyes' attack, so first I can battle with the Yubels to get in the Nightmare Pain damage, crash the Lacrima into the Blue Eyes. You know, we can battle into the Maiden, they can try to use the effect, we can Phantom. I actually accidentally BM'd a little bit here by attacking with the Necro Quip and not the sequence. I went for exact lethal, wasn't even intending to in the moment, but kind of just ended up that way. So yeah, like I said, Joel and Lockbird definitely helped quite a bit there, but still going second. This deck, I think, does have a lot of options. Here's another going second game for us here. Opening quite a few more hand traps this time. But, you know, that's the other nice thing about this build. I should have... Well, I haven't seen the deck list yet, right? I'm used to still putting it at the beginning, but I'll point out the deck list here at the end. If I don't remember to, you can notice that we have room in this build for not just, like, I think 15 hand traps, but also we have, if not 15, I think it's actually 14 one-card starters, counting stuff like Fiendsmith Tract, Dark Beckoning Beast, Gates, so on and so forth. Because as mentioned, if you know, even if you open, like, Dark Beckoning Beast and nothing else, you can use those to go into your Fiendsmith engine, Necro Quip, you know, Engraver, into sequence for Aerial Eater, dump D-Lotus, Muckraker to bring it back, boom, you have Yubel plays. And I think that's what makes playing this deck so fun for me too, honestly, in this meta. Is just the flexibility. Just like, I mean, yeah, there are definitely combo lines, and I might even go over those if enough of you want to see like an updated combo guide for this deck. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll definitely consider throwing something like that together. But, you know, a lot of the lines that I found myself doing were very, very freeform, right? So here under Maxi in particular, like, you know, my opponent's already fairly low on cards, so I'm just going to go into Phantom, giving them one draw and then passing, and thankfully, as you can see here, that was enough to stop them from, you know, drawing into plays here. I'm going to go for this Dark Beckoning Beast. They've got an Imperm, it's going to get negated, but that's fine, because I still have the Engraver in hand, even if the Imperm is also going to hit the Gates on my board as well, but I really like how fluid this deck feels, honestly. The Necro Quip alone just did so unbelievably much. So unbelievably much. And you might be wondering, well, yeah, but didn't Beatrice do the same thing? And the answer is actually kind of no, because again, remember that the Necro Quip is what allows you to not only go tracked into the Fiendsmith line, but any 2 effect monsters, making Moon of Closed Heaven, to then go into the Fiendsmith line. Was not possible before the Necro Quip came out. And Lacrima the Crimson Tears, once that comes out, will actually make this style of play even easier. So, Fiendsmith Yubel, I mean, Fiendsmith in general has really, you know, more stuff to look forward to. But Yubel, I think in particular, is reaping the most benefits from Fiendsmith. It's weird, because I would call it the strongest Fiendsmith deck, not in terms of, like, it's the best deck in the meta that's playing Fiendsmith. I think that title still goes to Snake Eye. But Yubel is the deck that now benefits from playing Fiendsmith the most. Like, for Snake Eye, you can't go Beatrice into setting up your board, but you still want to play Fiendsmith to have extra bodies. But with Yubel, again, in particular with Necro Quip, now, oof, now it's open season for your Yubel lines. It's so good. I love it so much. Again, a lot of the time, you know, if you're going for Muckraker, you are going to get Fiend locked. That's actually another reason why I kind of want to play the Caesar instead of the Appaloosa is, you know, going with these lines, as mentioned, is going to require Muckraker a lot of the time. And as a result, you're then going to want to be able to, you know, have another good Fiend monster to go into. And Appaloosa, unfortunately, or rather, I guess fortunately, probably for balancing reasons in this case, is not actually a Fiend monster. So, and it doesn't even have to be the Muckraker, though. That's the other kind of insane thing about utilizing the Fiendsmith engine. With this game here, for example, if you've got gates, then you can just use that to bring back the D-Lotus and then go into your board. I set up 2 Material Appaloosa and the Fiendsmith Yubel, and I'm only just now going D-Lotus into the Spirit and then setting up my board, right? Getting the extra gates back off of the gates second effect. So good. I think it's the third effect, actually, but so good. Just so many different things you can do now with this build. So flexible. Yeah, I could have made Varadras here, and I did kind of consider it, but ultimately decided that it'd just be better to go into the Soul of Rage, and... well, wait, no, I can still actually make Varadras here, I think, right? Because I'm about to make... Or no, I already made Yama. This is Soul of Rage. No, I should have used Yama's Graveyard effect, and then I could have made... No, wait, I already did... Sorry, I wasn't paying attention earlier. I already used Yama's effect, and I am making Varadras here. Yeah, if you're ever wondering how to make Varadras in this deck, it's, it is something you kind of have to go out of your way to do, but it involves using Yama to bring back Spirit when you pop it with Gruesome Gravesquirmer, right? That gets you your extra level 10 body in order to be able to make it. On top of course, bringing back the other Yubel monster with the Gruesome Gravesquirmer. I guess you could consider, I'm thinking about this now, you could consider taking out the Varadras for the Caesar, but I don't know. Honestly, I think that having the extra Omni-Negate option is just more important for this deck, because the only other Omni-Negate you have is Desiree, and that is kind of still one of Yubel's weaknesses. You know, historically its biggest weakness in Master Duel was not having access to Omnis at all. Now again with Desiree and Varadras we do, but it's a little bit situational getting either of those out. You know, in order to make Desiree, you do need to have 3 Light Fiends to put back, and you would need, if not opening Engraver, an extender in order to be able to do that with the Fiendsmith engine here. And Varadras, as mentioned, you need to be able to use Yama's Graveyard effect, which oftentimes means you need to have an extender as well as a starter to have enough bodies to be able to pull that off, but... this was another example of a going second game where Droll just literally single-handedly just kind of ends the opponent's turn prematurely. This hand is great, by the way, for comboing. We have, like, the Tract, I think it wasn't an Engraver, right? It was a Tract to start with Fiendsmith stuff. And then we have, you know, normal Beckoning Beast to extra normal D-Lotus on top of Gravesquirmer and Sharvara to both act as disruption, or not disruption, extension. Yeah, attempting to use the Engraver effect here. Naturally, our opponent's going to negate, which is fine because my true intention was to go into Necroquip. But, you know, obviously, if they'd let me just simply remove the Epperly Beauty here, that would have been fine. I was kind of surprised that the face down ended up being per leap. Because I would have thought they would have done that during the standby phase to get an extra draw, but I guess the thought process was they wanted the extra negate more than the draw. Like, they wanted to negate with Beauty and then yeep into Noir for 2 spins, right? But maybe not, because they used their spins both really, really early here. Given that I haven't even used my normal summon yet. I guess because they had this effect Veiler, they were feeling particularly confident. And to be fair, things don't look super good for me here. But don't worry, not only do we still have plays, we can actually still just do Yubel stuff, as you're about to see here. I'm going to link my 2 stuff that I have on board into the Muckraker. We can use Muckraker F, pitching the Sharvara to bring back the Beckoning Beast. Now it's no longer negated by the Veiler. I can also set the Chamber with the Sharvara. Well, then going into the D-Lotus with my extra normal summon. Now we can go for the Spirit F, setting the Nightmare Pain, and moving on from there. Now, I did actually change up my build a little bit when I was, you know, on this 12-2 ladder climbing session here. I kind of went back and forth on 1 or 2 Nightmare Pain because there's pros and cons, right? The pros of only playing 1 Nightmare Pain is mostly just deck space, and that doesn't sound like a huge pro, but it actually is. That's room for 1 more hand trap, which can mean a lot in the grand scheme of things as you're playing multiple games. But there is still kind of reason to play 2 Nightmare Pain. The main reason that I found is that if you get in a longer kind of grind game scenario and your opponent pops your Nightmare Pain and you only play 1, now all of a sudden it is a lot more difficult to win, not just like... Because it's already hard to win in an open, you know, board state to get 8k damage, but now once you've taken Nightmare Pain away, the ability to reflect battle damage is gone, and it becomes a lot more difficult to win. So... not only that, but also if you only play 1 Nightmare Pain, your follow-up spirits don't really get to gain advantage. You don't have anything to search. That's a pretty minor reason, but I think it comes down to, do you want to play 1 more hand trap versus do you want to win grind games a little bit more often? And generally speaking, I think the 1 more hand trap is going to be more useful more of the time, but... I think the build I'm actually going to show here does have 2 Nightmare Pain. I actually really don't remember off the top of my head because I really did go back and forth that often as to whether I wanted to play 1 or 2. You could make solid arguments for both, honestly. Alright, yeah, here in this situation, as you can see, we are using the SP to banish the field spell. Not only stops them from summoning there, but also takes away the target protection. That would stop the second SP effect, which I'm going to use here on the Purlily. And now at this point in the game, we've stopped both the Purly and the Purlily Exceeds effects, meaning there's not really anything my opponent can get here that would win them the game, which is why they concede right after activating my friend. Alright, this is the last duel that I've got lined up for you before we head into the deck list here. And this is the one I mentioned before where we're going to play through a couple of hand traps, actually. So we're going to lead with Normal Summon Dark Beckoning Beast. We're going to throw down an Imperm against that, which is, you know, makes sense. It's reasonable. Thankfully, we still have the Tract as well as Grave Squirmer here. But we can go Tract at this point to add the Lurie. And from here, we're going to go into the Fiendsmith line. Lurie, of course, going to bring itself back, link it off for the Requiem. Requiem Fair Engraver. You know the drill by now. Yeah, I was just kind of blown away by just how much the Necro Equip did for this deck alone. Like, again, I mentioned it in my most recent tier list that, yeah, this makes the deck stronger. Enough so that I put it back up into tier 2, but I like I said before, I severely underestimated just how much better the deck got. So here I'm going to link off the Beckoning Beast for the sequence. But before I activate the sequence effect, my opponent actually imperms it. That is a misplay, by the way, and you're going to see why here shortly, but you always want to make your opponent activate an effect before you go to negate it, because, well, they might be able to get the monster off the field and then revive it later. Kind of a spoiler alert, but I am going to be able to do that here. So we're going to link off the Yama and the sequence into a 2-material Appaloosa here. Now we can Sharvara pop the Beckoning Beast in order to special. This triggers the Graveyard Yama effect. I can bring back the sequence, and now I can activate sequence's effect because I actually didn't activate it before. They impermed before I had a chance to activate it. If I had activated and they chained imperm, that's the once per turn effect already used, and now we can no longer use it. So now from here, we went into the Aerial Eater, dumped the D-Lotus, go into Muckraker, Muckraker, pitch the extra Beckoning Beast to bring back D-Lotus, and as I said before, now we're going to go into Yubel plays despite not opening any Yubel cards and also our opponent resolving 2 imperms. Again, if nothing else, just shows the sheer resilience of what this deck can do. And you might be saying, well, yeah, but if your opponent had, been smart about how they imperm the sequence, you wouldn't be able to continue into a full combo here. And while that is true, keep in mind, I still would have been able to end on the 2-mat Apo plus, a number of other cards, probably the Unchained Soul of Rage. I forget exactly what the board state was around that time, but we would have had options. Our opponent, on the other hand, is lacking options. As you can see, they were only able to spare 1 card for the Droplet, which is far from enough to be able to stop us here. So, Yep. Here is the deck list here, if you're interested in taking a look. I like playing a little bit over 40 for a deck like Yubel, because we are playing a couple of bricks, like this Chaos Summoning Beast, as well as I do consider regular Yubel and Terra Incarnate to sort of be bricks, although of course they naturally unbrick themselves thanks to the Phantom. I had somebody in the post ask, and I get this a lot whenever I play Yubel, why Chaos Summoning Beast? The idea is that if you only open Gates and no other starters, you can go Gates for Beckoning Beast to add Chaos Summoning Beast, and then extra normal summon the Chaos Summoning Beast, link, and then go into plays. But if you don't play Chaos Summoning Beast, then you don't have the option to go into plays if you open Gates +4 non-engine. So, like I said, the extra deck, the thing I was kind of debating was if I wanted to find room for Caesar. Kind of considered playing Caesar over Appaloosa and over Varadros as well. If I had to choose one of those, I think I'd take one of those two out. But it's close. It's close. So, yeah. Hopefully you found this build / this video interesting and helpful. Like I said, I totally intended to just play enough to get like 3 replays and then be done with Yubel for the season. But accidentally got an over 80, I think it was 85 and some change % win rate into Master Rank. Absolutely ridiculous. Was not expecting it. Don't sleep on this deck like I did. I think it is extremely good. But yeah, thank you for supporting. As always, ever super duper appreciate it. If you're watching all the way to the end of the video, that is an excellent way to support not just my channel, but any small YouTube channel. Speaking of supporters, we still have some YouTube members and Patreon members to thank as well. If you're looking for early access to the YouTube videos, feel free to join as a member. If you want some more exclusive content, I would head over to the Patreon if I were you. Patreon.com/hexlex. But anyway, enough of that. Let's move on to that outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.